5 creeps to the top, shoving Indiana Jones's off its throne with a $32.7 million debut. TLDR, it seems that Indy's whip and fedora weren't enough to defend the top box office spot as Insidious 5 sneaked in and scared up $32.7 million in its debut weekend. Who knew a modest-budget horror flick could steal the thunder from the beloved adventurer? And while we're asking questions, how come horror films like these keep raking in the dough, even when critics go all boo on them? The reign of Indiana Jones at the box office turned out to be shorter than a Hollywood minute. That's right, folks, in its second week in the theaters, the Disney powerhouse got knocked off the top by, drum roll, please, the 5th installment of another franchise, Insidious, The Red Door. Apparently, it's not about being well reviewed but more about being well scary. Even though critics might roll their eyes, Insidious 5 snagged a cool $32.7 million from 3,188 theaters. Turns out, scary can indeed translate to moolah, making this horror film the highest-earning PG-13 debut in the past 2 years. Who would have thought, right? So why are audiences still flocking to see these horror flicks despite the critical nose-thumbing? According to senior media analyst for Comscore, Paul DeGarabedian, horror genre seems to have a never-ending allure for audiences. Well, who doesn't love a good scare after all? But is it just the thrill, or do we enjoy the adrenaline rush? While we ponder that, let's talk about the business side of things. The release of Insidious, strategically nestled between Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, turned out to be a shrewd move. But even the analysts didn't predict the upset this move would cause. Indiana Jones 5 had to settle for second place with a $26.5 million haul in North America, dropping a whopping 56% from its opening weekend. Globally though, Indy can still swing his whip with pride, having raked in an estimated $247.9 million. So, was it just the thrill of a new release that led to this upset, or are audiences demanding something more? Meanwhile, in the mix of films battling it out, Sound of Freedom, a child trafficking drama, and Joyride, a comedic romp, made their respective debuts. While the former ended up in third place with $18.2 million, the latter barely scraped by with $5.9 million. Which brings us to another question: how important are a film's genre and theme in determining its box office success? As we approach the midway point of the summer movie season, it's clear that the box office landscape isn't quite what we expected it to be. While we anticipated it to be well ahead of last year, it's actually just on par. This brings up a question: is the era of predictable box office hits coming to an end, or are we just in for a summer full of surprises? Let's not forget to wrap this up with the most important question of them all: what do you think will be the next box office upset, and why? Chime in and let's get this conversation started.